All right, guess what? We're in Spain again. And this time it's for Ducati's Multistrada V2. This bike is all new for 2025 and it's got some pretty substantial changes with the chassis and then some really substantial changes with the engine. So we're gonna talk about a couple of those areas and kind of give you an idea what this new motorcycle is all about. The two changes between the engine and the chassis have made a significant difference in this motorcycle in terms of weight. So this motorcycle weighs almost 40 pounds less than the model it replaces. That difference is pretty substantial. So first let's talk about the new engine. So it's an 890cc V-twin, but one of the biggest changes is instead of having a Desmo system in it, it's got finger followers and spring valves. And what that helps with is it lowers weight a little bit. Overall, the engine is about 12 to 13 pounds lighter than the previous engine, but it's also the lightest V-twin engine that Ducati's ever made. One of the other benefits of the new valve train is that the service intervals have been extended to 18,000 miles. So that's a big improvement over the previous Desmo models. This engine is also new in the new Panigale V2, but in that motorcycle, it makes 120 horsepower. In this application, it makes 115 horsepower and about 70 pound-feet of peak torque. One of the other nice details for the touring model is that this model has a shorter first gear and a longer sixth gear. So the gear ranges are a little bit more adapted to the touring side of things, which is ideal for the Multistrada. So let's talk about the engine in the Multistrada V2 and what it was like to ride today. With the combination of this bike being so much lighter, a full 40 pounds lighter than the bike it replaces, that performance really stands out. I never had a want for more power anywhere we were, but the thing that's so nice about this engine is it's so flexible. You can really lug it down low or you can rev it out, and it's really fun to rev it out. Some corners go through in second gear and really pull out hard. Gets the front light. I had the wheelie control off and it would loft it over little things. With the shorter first gear compared to the Panigale V2, it really has good bottom end grunt, but then they also made sixth gear longer, so when you're on the freeway you can really cruise at a nice pace. So overall this engine is just really flexible all the way through the rev range. It really has good balance. I wasn't left wanting for more power. You know, you get on the V4 and it's just amazing. It's absolutely stunning. But this engine is so nice, and in this lightweight package, I think that the engine performs really well, and I think most people are going to be really happy with it. It always has the right amount of power for any situation and the type of stuff that we did today. So overall, I'm super happy with the engine in the new Multistrada V2. Now, one of the other big features on this bike is the new chassis. Instead of being a trellis steel front design, is a aluminum monocoque in the front with a bolt-on trellis steel subframe. This is also reduced weight. So between the engine and the chassis changes, you get that big 40-pound number. The bikes that were on this go around are the Multistrada V2S, which comes with the Skyhook suspension, which is the semi-active suspension front and rear. It's doing your compression and your rebound dampening in the front. In the rear, you can do preload and it's fully adjustable, but there's 4 different suspension modes that you can go in and select. We played with those a little bit today, which we'll tell you a little bit more about later. Brembo braking package, 4-piston radial mount calipers, really nice brakes. Overall, the chassis, really fantastic. This bike weighs 439 pounds without fuel. Compared to the outgoing Multistrada, that's a big difference. Hey, so next we're going to talk about the handling. I think that leaning into the corners and pulling it up out of the corner, it flicks up so easily. It's just got a light feel to it. It's got the same proportions as the previous bike, so when you actually feel how much lighter this bike is, it's a pretty significant amount of weight that's taken off. The suspension on this, it really elevates the price compared to the base model with the manually adjustable suspension. So that's what you're really getting. If you want the Skyhook, you're going to have to pay that extra money for it. The roads that we're on today are super smooth, no beat up pavement, nothing like that. We did do a little bit of Autostrada this morning. It was a little bit bumpier and we were in the touring mode, but once we got up onto the canyons today, we switched it into the sport and the dynamic suspension, and it just works excellent. Braking package, it's got the Brembo brakes up front, excellent stopping power. You've got multiple ABS modes there too. When you go into enduro, you can turn the ABS off to the rear. So from a handling standpoint, on the type of roads that we did today, this Multistrada is really, really good. Just a really fun bike to ride in almost any situation. We're not doing any dirt on this test today, so I don't think that this bike is really intended for that. It's more of an on-road adventure bike, but you know, in reality, it's more of an upright sport bike with a fairing, so really a sport tourer. So really enjoyable ride today. Let's talk about the ergonomics on Ducati's new Multistrada V2. This bike just is a great bike overall for ergonomics. The seat is super comfortable. You've got two ranges of adjustment. You've got 32.7 inches and 35.5 inches, but there's also a low seat option available, and there's also a lower suspension option. One of the new things for this year is that Ducati has a variable ride height adjustment. You have to manually do it like some other bikes that do it automatically. This one, you've got to do it manually by holding down a button for 3 seconds. And it only drops at about 8 millimeters, which isn't a very significant amount, but it does make a difference, and you're able to lower the bike just a little bit to try to get your feet a little bit flatter. But we found it wasn't really enough. Like some of the other bikes are lowering the bike over an inch. So that's a pretty big difference, whereas 8 millimeters, very minor. Some other things about the ergonomics we really like. The windscreen's adjustable. It's got a little lever, it's manual, it's not electronic, but you can adjust that up and down really easily on the fly. Has really good wind protection at its highest position, and in the low position you can see over it pretty well. So it's a pretty nice combination there. I would say that the foot peg relationship to the seat, they've made that a little bit more open. It's very comfortable. We did a pretty good ride this morning and no issues with comfort whatsoever. The handlebar position's very neutral and really good, and the relationship with the foot pegs is excellent. So really nice overall ergonomics. Now let's talk a little bit about the electronics package. So like all these Ducatis, it's got a full suite of rider aids with your TC, your wheelie control, your engine brake control. It's got 4 ride modes, and you can go in and individually tailor those and pick out your suspension settings for those. We started out in touring this morning, played with that a little bit, and then moved it over to the sport mode. Really nice, definitely a little bit more direct throttle feel, really good and direct. And then we went to the dynamic on the suspension. The roads we were on today were, for the most part, just completely pool table smooth, so that was super nice. The suspension worked great in those environments, but we didn't really do anything rough today. But overall, I think this bike, for its price, especially the base model, really has some nice features, and then you really just have to decide, do you want the skyhook suspension or not? And then that really elevates the price over the base model with the manually adjustable suspension. If skyhook is something you want, you basically gotta pay up for that. I think the manual adjustable one is really a fairly priced bike for what this bike is and how new it is, with a new engine, new chassis, really nice styling. Comes in 2 different colors on the S model. The base model is only available in the red. Overall, fantastic bike. So once again, thanks for joining us here in southern Spain on the Multistrada V2S press launch. And if you like what you see, please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.